Oh, you are going to be so happy and so joyful that you listen to me today. Matter of fact, you're even going to be happier and even more joyful when you do what I show you how to do. Because your level of joy, this is fact, your level of joy will determine your experience in life. It will determine how far you will go in life. It will determine your quality of life. It is no secret now. As a matter of fact, there have been so many university studies and so many books have written about it. As a matter of fact, I wrote one myself called Get Happy Now, that happiness will determine your level of wealth in this life. Happy people, joyful people are happier people, and happiness will determine your level of wealth. And remember, around here, wealthy means to be healthy, happy, and financially abundant. But the question is, what is joy? Number one. And then number two, how do you create it? And then number three, how do you sustain it? And then number four, how do you make it so that it's automatic, so that it just happens without you having to work at it all the time? So I'm only going to answer this question. So I'm going to give you something to do. And let's start here. Let's start with what it is. What is joy? Now, this is my definition, and I've taken it from all my research, and not just my research and, Googling and things like that, but my research of working with people and even myself, because you can probably tell I'm a pretty happy guy, pretty joyful guy. And so this definition, you might want to write this down, that joy is the immediate and lingering emotion. It's the feeling now and residually the emotion of gratitude and appreciation that is brought about by the remembering of an event that made you happy, that made you feel good. Now, what does that all mean? I'm going to break it all down to you, but I'm going to use some examples. Like, think about this. Think about something that brings you joy right now, that when you think of it, it makes you smile or joyful. The thinking process, remember, it is the feeling that is brought about by the remembering. That's all your brain does all the time, is it remembers stuff from the past. It remembers stuff from right now. And by the way, there's only past and the future, because right now is the past. Right now is the past. It goes by. But you may consider something that's happening right now. You're listening to something and how it makes you feel. You feel joyful. Now, I'm going to tell you, how to you create more of it here in a second. But the truth of the matter is that when you think about something, if you think about maybe your first kiss, or your first, you bought a nice car or something like that, because a lot of people think that it's material things that bring them joy. No, it's not. As a matter of fact, a lot of people feel like, well, I have to have that material thing in order for me to be happy, for me to be healthy. That's just not true. Again, studies have shown that people who have nothing are still happy. Now, I'm not advocating that you lose everything and go live on a mountain and have nothing. I am just saying that once you realize that, wait a minute, you can create that joyfulness anytime that you want, then it even enhances the material things that you have. Because think about it. If you think about, let's say, that car, you think that car that makes you happy, or you think about, that person makes you happy. It's not that that specific thing in that moment makes you happy. It's the memory of it. And sometimes it's the memory of chasing it, or going after it, and working for it and making it happen, or the memory of the day that you got it, or the memory of the day that you use it. Like for me, I'll tell you what, some things that bring me joy. I love to play music. I have a studio in my other room there, and I love to play bass guitar. But you know what? I'm not playing it all the time. But every time I think about it, guess what happens? I get joyful. I get joyful. Now, the truth of the matter is, joy is a mechanical thing as well as happiness. Remember what I said, joy creates happiness. And happiness is just the feeling that you get from repeated and continuous joy. You see, joy will help you grow into being a more happy person. So when I think about, or I'm going through my day and I'm thinking about, well, why am I feeling so good? Oh, I remember I get to play bass a little bit later. Or I remember this. And the more things that I have in my life that I have that level of gratitude and appreciation for, that I remember automatically, then guess what? I'm joyful more often. But I want you to understand the mechanical thing that happens as well, because this is really important. Because if you understand the mechanical thing, and then you can do something about it. Why I'm joyful all the time? And my level of success and my level of health is because I've always got those memories right on the tip of my brain, and lots of them. But before I go into the mechanical side, well, let me talk a little bit about the mechanical side of it, because as I said before, it's not a cliche, it's the truth. That the cliche, the saying is happy mind, happy body. And it's the truth. If your mind, because remember, it's always think, feel, do, have. And so when you think something, you remember something that makes you feel good, or you think about something in the future that makes you feel good, that carrot on the stick, that positive expectancy of something that's going to happen. And you think about, oh, I get to go do this, I get to do that. Then what happens is we smile, and when we smile, you've heard me talk about this so many times, but it's just true. It's mechanics. It happens inside of you. Your brain releases chemicals or hormones, if you will. And one of the main ones that it releases is something called dopamine. Dopamine is that euphoric chemical that your body releases, your brain releases every time you smile. Not sometimes, not most of the time, every time. So the more that you do, and by the way, smile is not always, it can be smile with your eyes or whatever, eyebrows up or something like that. So when that happens, the truth of the matter is your body is dosing, your brain is dosing your body with hormones that make your cells work better. Make your cells work better. That's right. Remember I said wealthy is healthy, happy, and financially abundant. My mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer. They told us that she had 2 months to live. That's how bad it was. And fortunately, I had met a Dr. Deepak Chopra, and I also had read a book by Dr. Norman Cousins. And Dr. Norman Cousins, first off, Dr. Chopra is one of the leading physicians in assisting people in freeing themselves and ridding themselves of terminal diseases without traditional medicine. Dr. Norman Cousins healed himself and has taught so many other people to heal themselves through joy, through laughter. Wrote a book about it, and I had read the book. And when I heard that about my mom, I actually went to the physician, and before he told her or was about to tell her, I said, "Don't tell her that. Don't tell her that she only has 2 months to live. You can tell her she's sick. You can tell her she's got cancer, but don't tell her that." And he and I almost went to blows, but I never let him tell her that. And my mom lived another 11 and a half years cancer free. And here's why. One of the reasons why was because I remember when Norman Cousins had said that, he said laughter floods the body with dopamines and endorphins and things like that, but it tells those cells that it wants to live, and it tells those cells to come alive, and it tells the immune system to come alive. When you laugh, remember, mechanically, when you're joyful, when you laugh, you breathe deeply. When you breathe deeply, you get more oxygen. When you get more oxygen, your cells go, happy, happy time. What else can we have? Yes, what else can we? They're optimistic. They have more options. And so I kept my mother laughing. We'd read joke books. We'd do all kinds of things. And again, she lived 11 and a half years. Now, there were other things, obviously. She changed her diet and things like that. And we did some other things as well. But what gave her that impetus to do that, what gave her that pull to do that was because she felt good, because she was joyful, because she had the memory of what's in the future. You see, you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe the future, that's not a memory. It hasn't happened yet. Yes, it happens every day in your head, should you visit it. It's a memory. Oh yeah, I remember that I'm going to be going to this concert. Oh yeah, I remember that I'm going to get to see this person. Or I remember I'm going to get a refund on my tax returns or something like that. That you're remembering that is going to happen. Carrot on the stick. I know this sounds basic, but listen, it's the basic stuff that works. It's the basic stuff that makes us joyful. And so from a mechanical side, the more you do it, the more you will do it. That's the second part of it, is I call it human physics. Physics is the study of the movement of something, the cause and effect of the movement of something. So, movement of human beings, when you start to move something, when you do something over and over again, human physics is the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So guess what? If you continuously smile, if you continuously put yourself in a joyful state, if you continue to flood your body with dopamines and endorphins and things like that, then you will do more of it automatically, and you'll be more joyful. You'll be more optimistic, if you will. And so that's the first side of it. That is the side of the physical side of it, what happens. But let's talk about the emotional side of it. The emotional side of it, remember, it's just a feeling. And emotion is triggered by what your brain sees and says. What story you're telling in your mind, what images you're making up, what things you're imagining, and all of those things inside of your mind. Again, human physics, the more you do it, the more you will do it. And so that specific combination of endorphins and dopamines and things like that, that specific combination constitutes your joy. And when it happens, then guess what? It makes the heart beat differently. And by the way, you got a brain in your heart as well. It makes your heart beat differently. It makes the blood that courses through your veins different. It makes you feel better. Now, how many times has this happened to you? You get lost in a thought. You get lost in a memory. When you went to Hawaii, or you went on this date, or you did this or whatever, and you get lost in that. And in that moment, you're there. Because as you think, so you feel. Your brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not when you think it. And so obviously, the trick is to think it more often. You see, when you're thinking negative thoughts, when you're thinking pessimistic thoughts, when you're depressed, and remember, depression is just that the brain is focused on and thinking about the worst possible situations versus what is possible. Neither one of them has happened yet. And I'm not saying you just want to be Pollyanna and only look at the great stuff. I'm just saying to look at both of them, and your brain will start to figure things out. And so what happens is that positive expectancy of what's going to happen. Because, see, you can look in your past and you can look at things that make you happy, and that's going to be part of your assignment, if you will. But if you look in the future of what you get to have, what's possible for you, it'll make you even feel better. And I use this all the time. I say it, the carrot on the stick. The farmer puts a carrot on the stick and puts it in front of the donkey, and the donkey thinks it's going after the carrot, and it keeps on moving. That's the same with us as human beings. And so maybe think about this. What is it that makes you happy? You, not anybody else, you. Because here's the deal. Most people don't spend the time take the time to do that. And that's why I said you're going to be happier and joyful that when I tell you to do this. Take the time to do it. And more than once. I'll give you that formula here in a minute. And so that's the mechanical side of it. Now let's talk about the actual application of it as well. Because remember what I said before, that a lot of people think that material things are what make them happy. And we get trapped in that. We get trapped in thinking, I gotta have this next thing. I gotta get this car. I gotta get this house. I gotta make this money. I gotta do that. And I'm not telling you not to get those things. I'm telling you, wait for it, to happily go after them. Happily. Because what most people do, when they don't have something, when they don't have that material thing, they get fixated on it and they feel like that's the thing that's going to make me happy. And until I get it, I'm not going to be happy. It's a trap. It's a trap. Because remember what I said, you do the same thing. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And with the good stuff and the bad stuff. So if you get stressed about not having something, and I got to do this, I got to get up early, I got to do this, I got to do this, then guess what happens? Even when you get it, you're not going to be happy. And what's going to happen is you've been so used to that grind, and people even call it that grind. And guess what? You're going to start grinding for something else. It is why so many people become workaholics. And everything gets pushed by the wayside. Well, I'm out here to make the money. I'm the person that's making the money. And if I'm not making the money, nobody else is. And they got that going on in their brain. And as soon as they do, remember, the antithesis of a smile is a frown. And when you frown, remember, dynamics, human physics, the brain is going to release something called cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and adrenalines and things like that put you into your sympathetic nervous system. And that sympathetic nervous system always says, get up out of here or fight or flight. And that sympathetic nervous system is going to carry with it that stress hormones. And guess what happens to your cells? You got all that acid, all that the stress hormones going through your cells. Goes, this doesn't feel good. And they start to shut down. Your immune system shuts down because it sends all the energy into, it's that adrenaline, the tightening of your muscles and the stress of all that stuff. And it takes it away from your immune system. Now, listen, not to date this thing, but we just went through this, or still going through it a bit, this whole COVID episode, if you will. And the one thing not one, but one of the main things that we learned is that healthier people and happier people are the ones that are not dying, are the ones that are asymptomatic. I'm one of them. I didn't even know that I had it. And I didn't know until I got tested, and they said, you got the antibodies, which meant I had the disease, but I never felt it. And I'm a pretty happy guy. Now, all of that stuff, I'm saying that because everything, remember what I said in the very beginning, your level of joy will determine your level of success in this life, how far you will go, your healthiness, your wealthiness, healthy, happy, financially abundant. That's what we're after. And so what happens to most people is they get caught in this trap of, like I said, it's the material things that I want. I need this car, I need this house, I need this money, I need this person, I need all those things. And they get caught in that trap. And it is a trap because it just gets over and over again, because even when they get it, they wind up being unhappy, and they got to go after something else, and they can't relax themselves, and they can't, find any joy. So they use things like drugs and alcohol and weed and television and all those things to numb themselves, to take away from being happy. And if you don't believe me, look at the ratings of like Netflix and all of the subscription-based companies, television and streaming companies. They went through the roof during COVID. Now, they were already through the roof already, because we have been trained for almost a century now, not quite that much, but getting close, however long television has been around. We have been trained by that thing to let that thing make us joyful. Make us joyful. Think about it. Has there ever been like a television show? And I'm not knocking TV, because it's, it has its place and there's some good about it as well. But have you ever, and now it's easier because you can live stream things, and you can binge watch things. But in the olden days, and even now a bit, you're waiting for that next episode to come up. That next episode of your favorite show to come up. That brings you joy, doesn't it? It makes you joyful. But what you might not know is that next episode is designed to do what? Make you wait for the next episode. Now, if it was designed to make you joyfully wait for it, it'd be a different story, but it's not. Because most everything is left at a cliffhanger. Oh, don't get me started on that. And a cliffhanger is, here's where we're doing, we got to go, but we'll be back. And what you're doing is you got stress going on. It's low level stress, but it's still stress. That's not joy. And so instead, what you want to do is you want to find things past, present, and future that you can revisit. Remember what I said. Joy is the immediate and lingering emotion. Lingering meaning the residual effect. When something happens, there's a processional effect that keeps on going. The emotion, the feeling that is brought about by remembering. Remembering. Means to do again, or to put back together. To dismember means to take apart. To remember means to put back together. Which means in your past, everything you've touched, tasted, smelled, anything in your life is stored in your unconscious mind or your other conscious mind, but it's not out front. So when so it's dismembered. So when you remember it, guess what happens? Eyebrows up, you go, oh yeah, I remember that. And in that moment, you're experiencing joy. It might be a high level or a low level, but the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. As ye seek, not only shall ye find, but as ye seek, so shall you continue to seek. And so part of the trick is, and you're going to use your cell phone for this, and you're going to remind yourself every day, I want you to do this at least for the next 10 days, to write down, you see all these journals behind me? This is only about a third of the journals that I have. This is my library. You can see my library, all these books and all these things. But I put those there because those are my reminders. Every single one of them. I mean, there's lots of stuff in them, but every single one of them has got memories, has got things that if I open it up, I can look and I go, oh yeah, I remember this, I remember that. If your life is worth living, it is worth writing down and chronicalizing. And that's not what you use your phone for. I want you to get a hard copy journal that you can use, that you can carry around with you. Oh, and you write this stuff down. But what I want you to do is for 10 minutes a day, all I want you to do is just to remember the things that make you joyful. And what you're going to start to realize is it's the events. What you're remembering is the events. You're not going to go, oh, I remember that $10,000. You're going to remember the events that you got when you got that money, when you were working after that money, and what you spent that money on to make yourself happy and joyful. Even if you put it in the bank, you went and put it in the bank, you go, oh, that's great. So all you're going to do for the next 10 days is you're going to write down maybe 10 minutes a day, any and everything that you can think of. You have a lifetime of memories. And then every time you do it, you're going to go, yes, you're going to squeeze your fist, you're going to pat yourself on your back. Why? Because your nervous system is going to go, I want more of that. Let's continue to do it. And because of human physics, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And the more you'll break yourself of the trap of having to be attached to material things. You see, I hear, a lot of gurus and a lot of people say, you must not be attached. You must detach yourself from material things. Well, how do you do it? This is how to do it. Look at the experience, reward yourself for the experience, smile about the experience, because when you smile, it releases dopamine and you'll become joyful, and the rest will become history. You'll become healthier, happier, and more financially abundant. Lastly, always remember this, that life is always exactly what you dare to make it, and fortune favors the bold. And what I just showed you, it's a bold move. It truly is. So boldly step up and dare to make your life magnificent. I enjoy listening to the feedback that you let me know about the responses and the results that you've gotten. So I look forward to seeing you again. I'll see you at the top. Stay joyful, my friends. I'm out.